It took me a while to get all this set up. I have a pretty heinous process as far as to create, because I'm such a perfectionist, which at times has not served me that well, considering that I've always expected perfection from myself and others. The way that drives relationships is most of the time it drives it down in a hole, because the perfection that I'm looking for is something that is inward, and I try to get it from outward sources in order to bring it inward. It's not fair to those I'm in a relationship with, because they're not in me, I'm in myself. And I think we all could learn a valuable lesson as to, say, the philosophies of our life and the idiosyncrasies that we follow are a lot drawn and near by the things that we've been taught, as far as to grow, as far as to get older, as far as to survive, instead of understanding that our true and total growth comes in a space and a time where we don't have any type of meaning, or we don't have an understanding, but we look for those things in the natural obscenities and atrocities and vicinities that we have. Our environment makes us who we are, but our environment can expound if we would just go beyond where we are. I find myself in a deep pattern of thought all the time, because it takes an abstract omnicity in order to make sure that you are above reproach, and that you are giving yourself the freedom to be able to be beyond the spectrum of whatever it is that people consider normal. I know that normality and normalcy is something that I consider extremely boring, because let's face it, to get up and do the same thing each day is, well, that's death. I'd rather be in a graveyard than actually be alive and not being able to live. That's not something that I aspire for. Now, I know a lot of you have this ability to be able to cope with the things that you call life, but I can't cope with the normalcy of being able to die while walking. That's not something that's in me to do, because I believe we're called to be better and called to greater. It's not necessarily greater right here on earth, but being greater within yourself in order to be expound upon those things here on earth, so that you're not living in a constant space of death, but you're living in a constant space of life. I'm not here to tell you who to follow or what to follow, or how to live or what to live. I say get back to being yourself. And if you would just take a moment to be still and get with yourself, then you would understand who self is. But most of us find validation in the things that we tie ourselves to versus what is tied to us. And we also find validation in not being free, but being tied to things in order to give us meaning, because we don't know. If we would find validation in understanding that what we need is already inside and it is already tied to us, then we would not need to bring anything else from the outside in. Your traumatic experiences don't give you an excuse to operate in any way. They're just traumatic experiences. They're things that happened to you. They're things that made your synapses go off, and they're things that made you feel a certain way. But it doesn't give you the right to snap or to operate in such a manner. Trauma is trauma. You have every ability to be able to look at that trauma in the eye and say, I am not this and I am this. Don't be defined by what man says, but be defined by exactly what is in you, exactly what is right, and exactly what is a part of humanity. Be more human. Love y'all.